welcome to another brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies. Hey!
Yeah. We're back at it again for another week, talking about some geeky goodness. All three of us on the precipice of watching The Batman, them for the first time, me for the second time, together in LA tomorrow night. So just letting you all know, we might be dropping a just out of the theater reaction, about 5 to 8 minutes or something like that, that'll go up on the channel for you all to enjoy their initial reactions and my reaction seeing it a second time. Excited to do that. We're going to talk about so many things here today, trailers, some casting news, and we're going to get into the Disney Plus shows. The Marvel Netflix show showing up on Disney Plus in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about what that means for the MCU. But let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies and the Outlaw Nation. Mike.
I am the Outlaw's in-law, Michael Vogel, and I am a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
You know what that implies? It implies that I've married your daughter. That feels weird, doesn't it?
Listen, first of all, you've been trying to get your hands on that Vogel fortune for years.
Oh, I'm going to leave that alone. And Shannon.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Goldbergs, and Silicon Valley. And it doesn't necessarily, you could be married to Vogel's daughter. You could be married to his sister, of which, as Vogel mentioned before, you have tried to do for years.
Yeah, it's true. That's very true. Find the winning formula, but then again, I'm spoken for now, so Lady Outlaw is set. We're going to jump into things. Let's do this thing. For those of you who are new, joining us, thank you so much for taking the chance. Also, the Geek Buddies, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast network, don't forget, the Geek Buddies have a podcast network. Go and listen to them on the podcast feed there. Listen to all the things we talk about on these shows. In case you don't want to see our bright, shining faces, you can take us along with you. Listen anytime you want. And one last thing here, don't forget, we are powered and sponsored by Carbon Health. You can go to www.carbonhealth.com and see all the things they've got available to you. Clinics, they've got virtual care. They got 90 clinics in 14 states, virtual care in 24 states. They really believe that everybody deserves good health care. They come up with plans that are specific to you, fit your needs. And, you know, a lot of people are testing nowadays. Well, numbers are still going down, but people are still getting tested. People are going overseas. They want to get tested and make sure they're okay. I just got tested to go and be a part of the Hollywood Critics Association Awards. It's important that they provide all that testing for you there at Carbon Health and help you out. And I think certain areas are now starting to open up the door to mental healthcare stuff as well. Mental health care stuff is available to them as well. So go and check them out at carbonhealth.com. And thanks to them for powering and sponsoring us here. All right. The way it works is each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves for the first part of the show, then take a quick break and jump into our main topic, which is talking about the Marvel Netflix shows heading over to Disney Plus and what it means for the MCU. But Mike, I think you're starting us off this week.
I am. Speaking of health, if you're not healthy, you die. And one of everybody's favorite movies about death is the 1980s film Beetlejuice. Hey guys, they're not all winners. It was tried. I tried it. Tried some on. I'm workshopping here.
Bridge is shaky.
You're one to talk. Okay. Okay, Mr. The bridge over dad joke ravine. You calm down. Let's just keep it calm here.
Anyway.
At any rate, Beetlejuice, the 1988 supernatural comedy Beetlejuice, huge hit, still one of Tim Burton's best, and still a beloved movie. And people have been talking about a sequel to Beetlejuice for years and years, and it's still happening. Although a new piece of news has come out that makes it seem like maybe, possibly, potentially something could happen. And that is that Dark Horizons is reporting that Brad Pitt's production company Plan B has hopped on board the long in development Beetlejuice sequel for Warner Brothers. Now, this could go absolutely nowhere. They could develop it for a while, nothing could happen. But Brad Pitt's company coming behind it gives it at least a little bit of oomph. And we wanted to report on it mainly because I think we all just really like Beetlejuice, and we would love to see a sequel. No news has been announced about any kind of release date, any kind of writers, any kind of directors, any kind of cast coming back. So it's still like wide open blue sky. But anytime there's news about a Beetlejuice sequel, I get really excited. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this means maybe we will get it? If we do get it, what would you want it to be? How are your Beetlejuice feelings?
I mean, in the middle of this career renaissance that Michael Keaton is having, like, why not go back to the Ghost with the Most? I mean, they had talked about a Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian sequel for years that eventually went nowhere. I mean, most recently, I want to say like Seth Grahame-Smith was attached either as a writer or director. That also didn't go anywhere. I want to say Tim Burton was loosely attached to that as well. But the fact that Brad Pitt's Plan B production company is coming aboard, that says that, okay, this is not dead, that there is still a heartbeat with the Ghost with the Most.
Undead. Undead, you might say.
Undead are zombies and vampires. They're not ghosts.
Okay.
Just saying.
Boy, that bridge. Way.
We are on the road today. Okay. Yes.
But look, I think that Michael Keaton getting to revisit this role, a role that he had right before he went and took on the role of Batman. The fact that we're going to get Michael Keaton Batman in 2 different projects, maybe more, absolutely. Come back to the Ghost with the Most. I would love to see him in that black and white striped suit again. This sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Ron Howard woke up in bed and said, "Is there a Gung Ho 2 possibility here? I don't know, or a Night Shift 2 rather possibility. What's available to him?" And also, I mean, it's so great. I mean, he had that nice moment the other day at the SAG Awards. In the bathroom, rolling up on the stage, poor Salma trying to improv the moment and fill the space, and he came up perfectly. And everyone already made the jokes that he was out stopping crime, which is why he was late picking up his award. Very, very funny stuff. So yeah, people falling back in love with Michael Keaton, and he's kind of come all the way back around. You thought maybe this would happen after Spider-Man: Homecoming, but it's taken some time, step by step here. And Dope Sick, I think, has been a real big part of that. I know Shannon's a big fan of that show.
It's excellent.
Michael, and winning that award there was excellent for him. So I think Michael makes an excellent point. This is the time right now. Maybe a Beetlejuice sequel 10 years ago, maybe people aren't that excited for it. Now that Keaton is back, there's like a subconscious thing within the mainstream populace that goes, hey, I'll go see this and see what this is all about now, because I remember loving the film from way back then. And everybody is still alive except for Otto, I think. But I don't know if you want Alec Baldwin back on a set, but everyone else is still alive, still doing work. Catherine O'Hara, everyone. Maybe you leave Jeffrey Jones and you leave Baldwin off of this thing. But I love the idea that supposedly Winona Ryder is in play here as well. Wouldn't it be great to see them come back and have a little bit of their chemistry? What is the story you're trying to tell? There's no script or anything, but I think Mike is right as well. If Plan B is involved in this, that already kind of moves it to another level of possibility and it happening, but they better do it soon. I got a feeling that like as quickly as a Keaton Sans can come, a Keaton Sans can go. So you've got to grab the moment now while it's happening. And I would love to see a sequel now. In times past, I've been like, now I would be very excited to see what he would do with this Beetlejuice. Would he have a son of Beetlejuice? Is there a Beetlejuice family, Mike?
Can you have kids when you're dead? I'm not sure.
I feel like you can adopt.
Okay.
Just put it out there.
I was gonna make another joke about it, but I didn't want Mr. Grumpy Pants down below to like start slamming me again, because apparently he's the only one that can come up with the duds.
Oh, you are sensitive about that.
Almost like he's been on a writer's call recently. I don't know. Anyway, anything more to update on this one, Michael?
No updates. I mean, obviously, we'll keep everybody posted as we hear more. But yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, it's one of those, like, listen, the idea of a Beetlejuice sequel is always fun.
Yes.
Maybe it's going to be amazing. Maybe it'll be Bill and Ted's 3. Who knows? But hopefully, if they do get everybody back together, it turns into something special, because it's a pretty great movie. Love to see more of it.
I think people just talk themselves into liking Bill and Ted 3. I watched that the other day.
It came out at a very specific time. We were all very hungry for entertainment, trapped in our homes. We would have taken pretty much anything. And even taking pretty much anything, that was a rough one to watch. So,
It's the old Eddie Murphy joke. You're wandering in the desert and someone gives you a cracker. You sure that's not a Ritz? That's a good cracker. So yeah, I get it. Anyway, let's move on to our second story here. This is a fun story. I'm very excited about this. I don't know if my two compatriots are as excited as I am, but Ariana DeBose, who has been killing it over the last few weeks here, winning all these awards as Best Supporting Actress, got the SAG Award, got the Hollywood Critics Association Award. I was very honored to be in attendance to see that happen. So excited for her. She has been cast as Calypso in Kraven the Hunter, the movie that is coming out here from Sony, part of their Sony Spider-Verse without Spider-Man Spider-Verse. and she is going to be part of this. And Calypso is a really interesting character, and I love the fact that Ariana DeBose has been cast as this character. And I wonder what they're going to do with it. You know, Mike and Shannon, there have been some problematic characters in the past when they've tried to do characters of color in comic books, no matter what, Marvel or DC or what have you. And so this character herself, she's Haitian. There's voodoo involved in this one. She can be quite violent. She's apparently very entrancing. Her and Kraven have an interesting relationship. She has caused Kraven to die in the comic book. She seduced Kraven mentally and emotionally. So there's a lot here to play with. And I imagine a woman who is winning all these awards doesn't want to take a sidekick role. So I imagine this is going to be a big role in this Kraven the Hunter movie with Aaron Taylor Johnson. So what do you guys think about this? Are you excited that she's going to be joining the cast? Does it now make you a little more excited to see Kraven, or does this make you worry for her being a part of this movie?
I mean, okay. So, you know, we talked briefly about this yesterday, and my thought is I'm very curious to know what the reputation of the Sony Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies, what reputation they have amongst sort of the agents and managers, the wheelers and dealers in Hollywood, because you know, I mean, obviously the two Venom movies made a truckload of money, but they're not, for at least for me, they're not the best movies. I feel like that's sort of universally accepted, despite the fact that you know that they do have their fans. You know, we don't know how Morbius is or is going to be. You know, it keeps getting delayed. I mean, it seems like it's definitely going to come out now.
No, it's coming out now. Yeah.
My only thing was, she is kind of having a moment. I mean, you know, you're coming off her win for West Side Story. Also, she was hilarious in Schmigadoon. Yeah. Like, is there a universe where her reps are kind of like, yes, we have this offer to be in a Marvel movie. It's not the MCU though. Like, I just wonder, like, was there any sort of advising for her to wait? Or is it just, look, the Venom movies have made a truckload of money. Absolutely be in this. A ton of eyes are going to see it. And also, and like, I have a hard time conceptualizing this. Maybe that script for Kraven the Hunter is dynamite. Maybe it's going to be a fantastic movie. Again, I have a hard time seeing what that would be like, but that's kind of where I'm curious. But I mean, the cast that's coming together is very impressive. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson is fantastic. Russell Crowe, Fred Hetchinger, I believe his name is, who was also in White Lotus and in Pam and Tommy, who's a great young actor. I mean, the cast that they're assembling is impressive. Will the movie be? You know, only one way to find out.
Yeah. How does this news strike you, Michael? I know you're not the biggest Kraven fan, or maybe wanting to see a standalone movie, or even the Sony Spider-Verse fan. So what is your feeling about this casting?
I don't have an issue with Kraven per se. If the MCU announced that Kraven was going to show up, I'd be 1,000% on board. I'm like, great, you're going to do great things. I have an issue with these Sony Spider-Man villain movies and what I deem their quality is so far. That being said, I've made my opinion on them being the generic cereal brand of superhero movies already. I don't want them. But I think that, look, she might just be getting like a fucking baller paycheck. Yeah, like, it is fair. Not she is already proven that she is a great actress, and I'm sure she'll get really great roles. And there is no shame in saying, hey, take this movie, they're backing up the money truck, you'll be set, and you can do whatever else you want. And that's completely valid. Like, I'm sure that much like Michelle Williams in the Venom movies, no matter how bad this movie might be, she'll be great because she is absolutely fantastic. She will be great in anything and everything that she does. I am 100% convinced because I think she's fantastic. Yeah. Putting Calypso in the movie, interesting idea. You know, I think we saw with Venom and Carnage, sometimes putting more characters from the comics in a movie isn't great because you don't know what to do with them. So really, this all just depends on the script. I think the other thing this depends on is the Andrew Garfield of it all. Like, I think that there is a strong... whatever Sony's plan was with these movies, and we're going to steal Tom Holland back, or we're going to do this and we're going to do that, I think that Spider-Man No Way Home did two things very specifically. One, it said to everybody, keep Tom Holland in the MCU, and everybody gets to make billions of dollars. Right. And I think the other thing it said was also, people want Toby and particularly Andrew. So... You want to do a movie where we see this all turns into here's grown-up Tobey Maguire and MJ together, or here's Andrew Garfield going on his journey of self-discovery as his Spider-Man, and he's going to deal with all these other villains. I think that these movies just really suffer from the lack of all of these characters were created to surround a specific character, and that character is absent. So if they can bring those characters back in, maybe these movies get better. Maybe it all comes together and we're like, oh shit, this is better. Look, maybe Morbius comes out and we're like, we all made fun of that trailer, but it actually turned out to be pretty good. And maybe this Kraven movie has an amazing script and they assemble an amazing cast and we're like, fuck, Kraven was never that cool. This is really, really neat. So they can always turn stuff around, but just given my personal experience at Sony and my personal experience dealing with the way that they think through things on the superhero front, doesn't fill me with confidence, but I'm always excited to be proven wrong.
Well, I mean, you do make a good point here, Mike. This may be the reason why these films don't 100% work for the three of us, because we don't have a Spider-Man for them to bounce off. And it's very curious how they're doing this, because they're essentially turning all of these villains into anti-heroes. So I said this on my trailer reaction for Morbius, which I deleted because nobody watched it, and I was like, this makes I mean, like after 4 hours you have 200 views, delete the video. So I was looking at this thing and I was, it was 2 days late, it's my fault, but I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, they keep dropping these films as anti-hero films. You're not going to have a Sinister Six. You're going to have an anti-hero Sinister Six. So then why is Spider-Man involved in this at all if you're going to turn all these villains into heroes in a sense, or a version of them? Then there's no need for Spider-Man. So then who is going to be your main villain at that point?
Don't nobody want the Smiley Six?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at. So I wonder how that's going to work, because I mean, we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, and I think we can spoil that because it made so much money that, you know, Doc Ock went against that group, and maybe that was a little bit of a dry run. And if they weave Doc Ock back into this, and at least the Molina version of it all, and have it kind of these universes kind of come together under Andrew Garfield, then you've got yourself a Sinister Six here that's not necessarily all together. So it could be a Sinister Six that's splintered in half and fighting each other overall, but you're still going to feel that loss of Spider-Man. You're still going to have that hole there in your whole creation that isn't filled without a Spider-Man. So I just wonder how they make this work with Andrew Garfield if they're going to go that route. I don't see Tobey being a part of this, but I do see Andrew, because the buzz is so loud to have Andrew come back.
Yeah, that's definitely the more likely, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there was something like, and I don't know where it went, so this could be just utter horseshit, but it was saying that the Morbius Spider-Man post-credits or cameo that we're going to get is not Andrew Garfield, that it is actually Tobey Maguire.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which would line up with the Morbius, that moment where he's walking down the street and you see the Spider-Man poster where it says murderer, because that is the Tobey Maguire.
Good point.
Costume.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, that certainly doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be a really interesting situation if they are able to weave all three Spider-Men in cinemas at the same time.
Yeah. Listen, J.C. Chandor is a good director. He's only had one film that I didn't like, which was Triple Frontier, but I liked Margin Call. I liked the Robert Redford All Is Lost. I really enjoyed the Oscar Isaac, Jessica Chastain, A Most Violent Year. And now we get Kraven. So I have high hopes. And you guys mentioned maybe it's got a banger script, or maybe there's a lot of money here. I hope it's the banger script. I would prefer that option, because that gets me excited that J.C. Chandor is the right director for this, to tell an action film that also has some like real gritty shit to say about the human condition. So I would be curious to see what they do with that. I hope it's not just a throw off like we saw with those Venom movies, for God's sake. So anyway, we'll see what happens with this. We don't know. Right now, it's supposed to be released on January 13th of 2023, even though they haven't even started shooting yet. So I feel like that's going to change, but we shall see as it goes along here. So, all right. And more power to Ariana DeBose. Shannon, take it away.
To trailers. So we've been doing this for a while, talking about trailers, and I cannot remember the last time that we had three trailers for three different projects that are as varied as what we're going to talk about today. But the first one, we get our second look at the Adam Project from Ryan Reynolds, Netflix, and Sean Levy. So, you know, if you're itching for something Amblin-like, we got the Adam Project for you. The second trailer, it looks like Jennifer Garner's character, her mom character, is kind of taking a back seat to the Zoe Saldana's Laura character, who appears to be Ryan Reynolds' girlfriend, wife, partner, what have you. But again, this trailer's just given us more of what we want, more of Ryan Reynolds being incredibly funny and charming, more of this just fantastical 80s like action, and more of the young actor who's playing the young Ryan Reynolds, who seems to be doing just a fantastic job. So obviously my feelings about this trailer are clear. Gentlemen, what did you both think of our second look at the Adam Project?
Mike?
Yeah, sometimes when you see a teaser trailer for something and you get really excited and then you see the full trailer and you're like, I guess. That was not the case here. I'm super on board. Particularly I was working on a script in here the other day, and my brother was out watching Free Guy on Disney Plus, and I kind of went out and watched the back half of the movie. And dude, Free Guy is just so great. It's so great. It's so funny. It's so inventive, and it has so much heart. Like, it is a lovely, lovely movie that really hits you in the feels in surprising ways. And so having that whole team double down on the Amblin side of things, as Shannon said, in this movie, it looks fantastic. I mean, this is a team, like I was watching the trailer and I was like, look, maybe this whole team is like the next, we talk about it all the time, but like that next Lord and Miller, like that next team, that creative team that can just go, and no matter what like the genre is, no matter what the thing is, they've got this vibe where they're like, we're going to make you laugh really hard. We're going to do something super inventive, lots of effects, like special effects heavy movie that actually has this heart underneath. And like the Netflix part gives me slight pause, only because, as we've talked about a lot of Netflix trailers look badass and amazing, and then you watch the movie and you're like, well, okay, that was fine. I'm glad I was on my couch. So, there's always the chance that this looks great and they got a great team together and they got some great stars in it, and then you watch it and you're like, well, I can see what they were going for, but didn't quite get there. But I don't know. I've got a good feeling about this one. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's not the case, and I hope it is what it looks like, because I could use a little bit of a classic 80s Spielberg vibe in my life.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, Michael, Free Guy is fantastic. I watched like an hour of it the other day, just for shits and giggles, and because I really enjoyed that movie. Whereas we convinced ourselves Bill and Ted 3 was great, Free Guy came also at a time we were starting for entertainment, just opening the door slowly, and it was really good and still holds up. And it's just a sweet, sweet story. And just like that film, I feel like this film is also a small story. Like Free Guy is a small story about this guy figuring himself out. It just has a big landscape, right? This same thing here is, and also Jodie Comer's character kind of fighting the man, so to speak, and finding her voice here. This feels the same thing. It's a family drama, but it's thrown into time travel and sci-fi and all this stuff. But it's really a family drama here. And I think that's Catherine Keener as the villain, but it was a long distance shot. And in my head, I thought, well, is it Jennifer Garner as the villain in the future, going after her son to stop time travel because her son is maybe trying to stop his dad from dying? So I went to all different places in my head watching the trailer, and I liked it. I like that I have questions about what we're going to see here and who's going to take what role and what interesting family drama we're going to get from all this. And Garner has been really focusing on being in a lot of family dramas over the last few years. So clearly this is something that's in her wheelhouse. And I think Sean Levy has gone to a little bit of a higher level as a director than where he started over the last few films. Here, you look at the Night of the Museum trilogy, which I think a lot of people don't give enough credit for as being one of the good trilogies that have been made here. And then you look at Real Steel, which I think was good. A lot of people like Date Night. The Internship was quietly a damn good movie with Owen and Vince. This Is Where I Leave You was actually a really good character exploration of death. And then you had Free Guy. So I think, and then he's done some episodes of Stranger Things. So this is a damn good director who understands how to deliver this family entertainment that hits the right spot. So to me, I like this trailer. I like that we got more with Zoe because she didn't speak at all in the last one. And I like that we got a little bit more with Walker Scobell, as I think the kid's name, who plays the young version of Ryan Reynolds. This looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And even more than anything else, just like he did in Free Guy, we don't see that Ryan Reynolds shtick taking over the movie, it seems like, or the trailer. He has a couple of moments, but overall, it's a more of a vulnerable, open Ryan Reynolds, which we enjoyed in Free Guy. So I hope Sean Levy's found the way to kind of hone that down and get Ryan Reynolds, the human being, to come out in his acting more and less the Ryan Reynolds that's Van Wilder. So
I know, but hold on. I know we got two more shows. I want to push back on this a little bit. I think Ryan Reynolds' strength is the fact that he's never fallen too far into his shtick. Van Wilder, you literally just brought up his very first movie. Like, Van Wilder was the thing that he came onto the scene as a young dude and was so fucking charming that a mediocre movie became much more liked than it should have.
True. It's very true.
But like, from that point on, like, he's always had his Ryan Reynolds-ness. Like, whether that be in Deadpool or random commercials or anything, like, he's Ryan Reynolds. But as opposed to a lot of other actors who really start to rely on their shtick and get a little bit too far into it, and you're like, okay, has he ever really, like, was there ever a phase where we were like, ugh, enough Ryan Reynolds? Like, was there ever a phase where we were over him?
Before Deadpool. I mean, all his movies were going straight to DVD, Michael. I hate to break it to you, but that's what was happening after Van Wilder and Waiting or whatever. And there were a couple movies, and then, he started sliding into straight to DVD territory. And then Deadpool is the thing that saved him. My man was heading to B movies for the rest of his career until Deadpool came out.
I don't recall this slide into straight to DVD. I mean, he was Green Lantern, and that is a situation where you had a director who did not know how to use him correctly. So you had, I mean, granted, not a great movie, but also you had the fact that Martin Campbell didn't know how to use the weapon that he was given, that is Ryan Reynolds. Now, they were able to use it correctly for Deadpool because it pretty much just is Ryan Reynolds, but also Sean Levy is the guy who, as you pointed out, John, he really knows how to use Ryan Reynolds.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go through it. Buying the Cow. Did you guys go see that? The In-Laws. Did you guys go see that?
It's a classic.
Yeah. Did you go see Foolproof?
Loved it.
How about Blade Trinity? How good was that movie?
Well, but that's not like,
in the theater.
Again,
did you see Amityville Horror? Did you go see Amityville Horror? No,
I did see Amityville Horror, and it was great.
It was not great, you liar.
I sat in the theater at the Art before you could drink in theaters. The ArcLight had that one theater that you could drink in, and me and Mike Ross went to go get wasted and saw Amityville Horror, and we had a great time because the woman behind us was screaming so loud we thought she was gonna die. And also, Ryan Reynolds was shirtless for a significant portion of that film.
He was. Look, I love Just Friends, but not a lot of people like Just Friends.
A lot of people love Just Friends.
No one went to see Chaos Theory. Definitely, maybe quiet film that people do like. I'm not going to deny that. Adventureland, not bad at Adventureland for sure. Then X-Men Origins Wolverine, good night. That was terrible.
Yeah, but again,
terrible.
This is not direct to DVD.
Where's this descent into direct to DVD?
We're getting there. R.I.P.D. Oh my God, give me a break. Who saw that?
In the theaters.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theaters. It was terrible.
Oh, you went to go see it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was real bad. It was real bad.
Anyway, how about this? It was an uneven situation with him. He wasn't blowing up. None of his films are necessarily were big at all.
But again, the issue here, but that's not what I didn't ask you about his box office success. Like, with all of those things you named, even R.I.P.D., X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is a garbage movie.
It is
even like Blade Trinity, any of these movies that were not successful, not because of Ryan Reynolds, but they just were not successful movies. At no point did we have that overexposure conversation where we were like, oh God, Ryan Reynolds is all in his shtick. He's been in lots of movies, some good, some bad, but the whole concept of he's finally learned to sort of control his impulses and bring out this human side, I think he always was that.
I disagree. But we'll see. Yeah,
all those imaginary DVD movies he did.
What you're saying is he's never grown as an actor. He stayed the same actor from the beginning. Is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying he's been a delight for most of his career.
So has he been the same actor? Because you're saying he hasn't changed his shtick. His shtick still works, and he's still good at it. So he stayed the same actor.
I'm saying he never relied on his shtick. I didn't say anything about him growing as an actor.
We don't have the time to get into it. All right, let's move on.
So the Adam Project, we don't have to wait very long to find out if Ryan Reynolds continues to rely on his shtick. It comes out March 11th on Netflix.
I love his shtick. I want to make it really clear. The top 10
sounds like it.
The top 10 has been a Ryan Reynolds stand show for quite some time. But
I can hear that bike backpedaling right now.
Just saying, I like it when he doesn't rely. Anyway,
so our next trailer is something that is kind of tailor-made for John Steven Rocha, and it is for an Apple Plus series called Slow Horses, starring Gary Oldman and Kristen Scott Thomas. So if you were a fan of Gary Oldman's work in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, this seems to be the next level of that. This is a modern day. It's based on a apparently 8 eight volume series of books about a group of MI5 rejects who have to go to this one particular department called Slough House, which if you watched, The Office, the English Office, Slough House, which is run by Gary Oldman's persnickety character named Jackson Lamb. So this is going to be on Apple Plus. It's a six episode series, but because they do have all these books, chances are, if this does take off, there could be more than one season. I really thought this trailer was cool. Gentlemen, what did you all think of our first look at Slow Horses?
Well, I'm really happy we didn't default into the Gary Oldman shtick. I think that was really important to see here in this particular trailer. No, I liked it. I really liked it. This, you're absolutely right. This is absolutely up my alley as an Anglophile, as a guy who loves Gary Oldman when he does these kind of darker comedies, as a fan of Kristen Scott Thomas since The English Patient, which you both can attest to. It's great to see her be a part of this as well and get a chance to shine. Plus, Apple TV Plus has been doing some fantastic content for sure. If you're not watching Severance, you need to be watching Severance. That's a fantastic show. So I like the approach to this. I like taking the piss out of the military intelligence, a little bit of the British, because so many shows that are British dealing with military intelligence, they're always very serious, very smart, everything's about to fall apart. You got to solve this case. This is a little more tongue-in-cheek, a little more, but still without losing the stakes of the overall story. So I like that we're getting a dark comedy here, but also with some realism to it that works. Plus, Gary getting to do comedy, as I said, as chilling as he is as a villain, he's also fantastic in his comedy stuff. So what did you think there, Mike?
I mean, Gary Oldman's a fucking chameleon. Like,
True.
That guy shows up and stuff, and you're just like, you can just... Like, the fact that, like, Commissioner Gordon and this guy in this trailer and Fifth Element and Sirius Black, you're just like, get out of here. You're crazy. It looks great. I love a good spy story, and I love the Bad News Bears. And this is a bad news bears spy story. Like, it looks great. And it looks like it really, kind of to John's point, it does have that balance in that there's some really funny lines in this show. Like, Gary Oldman particularly is really, really funny. And there's just, like, you get those little moments that have some really good comic timing. But then you really do get the sense that there's a legitimate spy story here. Mm-hmm. That you kind of are having, like, this gang of losers that's sort of a more comedic bent on the spy thing that then get pulled into a legitimate spy story. And that sort of mixing of genres, like, if that works, that makes something feel really fresh and new and different. And so, based on the trailer, like, I'm definitely down to watch this.
Yeah, and this one comes out April 1st on Apple TV. And our last trailer, and as we've spoken about before, from time to time, it's been a minute, but from time to time, our giant group of dudes out here in LA will find a certain movie that we have to go and go all see together, turn it into an epic night of drinking and camaraderie. We call these dude nights. And this last movie coming out is definitely dude night worthy, and it is called Bullet Train. So this is from David Leitch, the same director of Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. And this is a crazy stacked cast. You have got Brad Pitt. You've got Sandra Bullock. You've got Brian Tyree Henry. You've got Zazie Beetz. You've got Michael Shannon. You've got another Aaron Taylor Johnson performance. You got Hiroyuki Sanada, Andrew Koji from Warrior. This looks like such a blast. I was like, I feel like I need to have a beer as I drink this. Anytime Brad Pitt gets to play just a fun, semi-normal guy, even though he's clearly some sort of spy / criminal. Anytime you get to see Brad Pitt just do his thing, it's a joy to watch. And also watching him get the shit kicked out of him is pretty funny too. So gentlemen, are you both willing to board the Bullet Train?
Oh my God. You kidding? I couldn't wait to do this trailer reaction this morning. I immediately jumped on it and watched it. It was a lot of fun. Love that you've got Brian Tyree Henry doing a British accent, Joey King doing a British accent. I think she's not British. I think she's American. I'm not sure. But overall, and then Sandra Bullock seems to be the one on the phone giving him his marching orders, talking about, I'm going to give you an easy case to come back with. So is he a hitman or a killer who's been retired and now he's coming back and she's throwing the book at him? Is this a way to get back at him? I don't know, but this feels reminiscent of Snowpiercer, reminiscent of the fight with Batista and Daniel Craig in Spectre, reminiscent of Train to Busan, if you guys have seen that. All of it here on this train, and the unique different characters and the like neon glow and the Japanese influence. It reminded me of Kate, Punch Drunk Milkshake, I think is what it's called. The one with Karen Gillan. So all of it coming together here. This is a John Rocha movie. This is Saturday afternoon. Have a beer, go see this movie with whatever friends, usually Shannon, but whatever friends are willing to come along and watch this thing. This looks like a lot of fun. So, and you're right, Shannon.
I'm just not even here. I'm just not here. Just don't mind me. I'm just.
That's that swoosh. But Brad Pitt doing what Brad Pitt does best in these kinds of movies. He stands out for the humor and for the. I mean, when he's drinking the sparkling and that last one with him and Aaron Taylor Johnson, that is classic Brad Pitt comedy. It's so perfect. Mike.
Yeah, this was great. You know, it reminded me of like after Pulp Fiction came out and Tarantino really kind of blew up, there was like just a bunch of movies that were like, let's do this whole vibe. And some were good and a lot were not good. But like you got some really kind of fun movies that had that sort of sense of humor about them that were like, we're not taking ourselves too seriously, but we also clearly love movies and we are just going to go to town on some stuff and do like these huge elaborate sequences that are kind of ridiculous. And so in that opening scene of the trailer where it's Brian Tyree Henry and Brad Pitt having this whole encounter on the quiet train and having this whole like gunfight, beating each other up, but having to remain quiet about it, like that kind of ridiculous, hyper realized situation is something that like nobody's done really, really well in a while. People have still tried, but like the era where like every movie had that vibe is kind of gone. And just seeing all of these actors come in this highly stylized, like Technicolor movie, it just looked really, really, really fun. I mean, like there was not a moment of this trailer that I wasn't smiling. So yeah, I'm super, super excited to see it. I guess I'll go by myself because Shannon and John are going to go on a Saturday afternoon and have a great like best friend time. But like I'm going to call some friends too because I have friends who would like to see movies with me. So I'm gonna go with them. But
I don't live in LA. I can't go to the Saturday afternoon with Shannon anymore. So I'm just saying it used to be one of those ones. So please.
I literally said this was a dude night movie.
Because it looks like it's good, and we never pick good movies for dude night movies. So
no, the first one we picked The Hangover.
Oh, that's true. The first one was the best one.
It's been the law of diminishing returns ever since. But we'll find out in about 4 months or so when Bullet Train comes out, July 15th.
They must really like it to release a trailer this early. I feel like they might have some very positive, and it's based on a book, so maybe they feel like the source material was good enough to use here, and so I'm curious to see if it's going to be well.
I also do. I think they probably do think they have something really good. Yeah. Also, and we talked about this before, but Brad Pitt has certainly attained that level, that Bill Murray level of acting, like that level of acting where like you're not even really acting anymore, you're just existing on screen and you just don't give a shit. Like, it's just like, it was like, you know, like he just has this air about him that doesn't feel remotely performative. You're just like, dude, you are just living your best life. And it's a joy to watch you existing on screen.
I mean, don't you remember like in the 90s when Brad, like it was post Thelma and Louise, but you know, he was the new it guy, but he went through this phase where he was just really kind of a strange dude. It's like, you know, and now we've gotten to the part where he's a bit older and it looks like he's just having fun. And that's what this movie seems to be. It looks like it's just going to be fun.
You might say that he relied on his shtick too much.
No, you know what? No, I beat you to it. And this is David Leitch as well, who, of course, him and Brad Pitt worked together for that quick few seconds in Deadpool 2. So certainly establishing. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Reynolds shows up as a cameo at some point in this movie. That would be really funny as well. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and we're going to jump into our main topic, which is these Marvel Netflix shows showing up on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus adjusting parental controls to make sure people can watch them. We'll be right back right after this.
Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. It's When You Wish Upon a Scar.
Oh,
because it's Disney.
Wow. You employ this man. So don't you be reacting. You employ this man. Anyway, let's jump into this because we only have a certain amount of time for this one. But it was announced through Hollywood Reporter and a number of other outlets that Disney Plus is bringing over these Marvel Netflix shows that stopped, I think, on March 1st being on Netflix. Now on March 16th, they will be heading over to Disney Plus. This includes the Daredevil series, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Punisher, Iron Fist, The Defenders, and ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like that girl. It's like Will Smith's first wife. Like, I loved you. We divorced. I moved on, but I moved you into my house. We're not still married, but you can be in the house. And I feel that's what they do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They tease Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like, yeah, are you canon? Maybe a little bit, but not really. We'll see. But everything else, it seems like, is now lining up after Charlie Cox appearing in Spider-Man No Way Home to possibly be fully canon in the MCU and show up. And, we have this happening now, as we saw Kingpin show up in Hawkeye, but now this idea of like these ground-based heroes with the Daredevil, with Moon Knight, with Blade, with other things that are happening here in the ground base of New York. We'll see if this means now they're going to establish a new Defenders here with this crew. Will Kristen Ritter be back? Will Mike Coulter be back? Will John Bernthal be back as Punisher? That's the loudest I've heard people clamoring to have him come back. So, and Disney adjusted parental controls as well for this, so that because of the violence and some of the sex in the show, so that parents can adjust this so their kids don't necessarily watch content that they shouldn't be watching at too young of an age. So, Michael, I go to you first as the Disney guy and as someone who loves Marvel. What do you think about this whole idea of all these shows coming here to Disney Plus? What does it mean for the MCU overall and the parental controls?
I mean, I think what's really interesting about it is you see how when Disney bought Marvel, when Disney bought Star Wars, I mean, everybody else, they're going to get Disney-fied, they're going to water it down, they're going to make it safe, they're going to do all this stuff. And I don't think that has been the case, but also you really do see here that they're really putting a stake in the ground. And you see that I think that Disney was always ready to embrace these brands and was ready to expand what that meant, but that clearly is the case now. I mean, you sort of see a couple things. You see Kevin Feige coming out and saying that Moon Knight, that they're not pulling any punches. So you have Moon Knight coming out this month, and we're definitely getting a new show that apparently is going to be more violent than people were expecting, at least. I don't know what level of violence that is comparative to Punisher and everything, but definitely not like a watered down Moon Knight from what they're saying. And then you see, Matt Murdock show up in No Way Home, Wilson Fisk show up in Hawkeye, and then about a month later, this migration of all of these shows. I think it really is a sign of a couple things. One, it's a sign that, with the exception of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and probably Iron Fist, we're not going to really pay much attention to, that all of these things may be canon, may officially sort of be a part of the Marvel Universe and exist. And if these characters are going to show up, except maybe Iron Fist, they'll be played by those actors. Yeah. And so I think that's really interesting. But I also think Disney Plus just adding these parental controls is a really interesting thing too. That's a big move for them to do, that you see how they are really sort of recognizing that Marvel was a smart buy for them, and that it really is paying dividends, and that they have to make room for it. They have to make room for these more violent series and these characters if they want to be the home for the entire MCU. And that means that we're probably going to get Deadpool on Disney Plus at some point. It means that all of these things are coming in, and you really see, as opposed to the Disneyfication of the Marvel universe, you're sort of seeing the Marvelication of the Disney universe.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. Shannon, I mean, this mirrors what's happening across globally, across Europe and other places. This has already been in place, parental controls, what have you, because arguably those countries are a little more looser, less puritanical than we are here in the States about certain things. But so those have been in effect since the beginning, the Star Service and what have you overseas. So it seems like we're here in the States, they're taking a global approach by making this decision and making it accessible to everybody to watch, but with parents also having the tools they need to be able to restrict their younger children from watching some of the stuff on these shows.
Yeah, along with Deadpool 1 and 2 possibly at some point showing up on Disney Plus, this also lends credit to what Feige has said in the past about Deadpool 3, that they're not going to try to sanitize it, that they're going to let Ryan Reynolds and possibly the writers continue doing what they were doing. And, Deadpool's a dirty movie. So the fact that that's going to be a Marvel cinematic universe release, it is, I mean, it's pretty surprising. I mean, when you look at the Netflix series, I mean, I'll leave Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. out because it was on broadcast TV, so more than likely, there won't be any issues with its content. I mean, it may not be canonically accurate, but there's no issue with their content, especially in season 2. There's a really great episode with a really good looking dude. But when you look at the content,
isn't he wearing a mask for most of the episode?
It's his face. I'm the mask. But when you look at the content of the Netflix series, I mean, especially Punisher. I mean, Punisher, if that were to have been released as a feature film, like that's an R. Like that is a hard R. I mean, it's not just the violence, of which there is a considerable amount. I mean, it's also the language. I want to say Punisher is the only one to drop the F-bomb. I could be wrong, but I think that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like they want to take the best of what they can from what has been established on the Netflix series and use it. I mean, does that mean we're going to see Kristen Ritter pop back up as Jessica Jones? Maybe. Mike Coulter? Well, we'll see. I mean, Finn Jones seems to be the only one that everybody
that's
has, like,
certified. Yeah.
Yeah, he ain't coming. He ain't coming back. But as you said, John, I mean, across the fan base, like everybody wants to see John Bernthal have another swing at the Punisher. I mean, outside of Charlie Cox and Wilson Fisk, I mean, those three together really were just the embodiment of what you wanted the big screen version of these characters to be.
Yeah.
In terms of the parental controls, I don't know, man. Kids are smart. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do what they actually think is gonna do.
I also think, I was laughing about it. I was like, here's how the parental controls are really gonna work. Is that like mom is going to lay down the parental controls and be like, you can't watch these movies. And then dad's going to come in and bring his son and daughter and be like, all right, but let's talk about Frank Castle. I'm going to show something to you. Don't tell your mom I showed you. But that's, I think that's what's going to be interesting to see, because I think part of the joy of the Marvel Universe is part of the same appeal that Star Wars has right now, which is there is an entire generation of people who are parents, who are adults, who have kids. And because of the nature of both the Marvel Universe and the Star Wars Universe, you get to share this huge thing that you grew up loving, that your kid is now growing up loving. And so even though these are on the more adult side, like I think that once you get a kid into the Marvel Universe and they become a little sponge that want to absorb everything, and you are loving sharing it with them, I think eventually you're like, okay, so how soon can I show you the Punisher? Because I really want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like Blade is, I think, on HBO Max. Am I right? That's a Marvel property. So
what
theater? I mean, not theater. What studio
New Line?
is Blade?
New Line, which is WB.
Right. Okay. So that's why it's there. But what about Logan? Logan's a Fox one, right? And
but Disney owns Fox.
But Disney owns Fox.
That's what I'm saying. So now Logan can show up on Disney Plus as an R-rated movie. This opens the door to more of this stuff. And look, people thought they were going to end up on Hulu. No, if they're moving them into the MCU, I think that's why they're putting them on Disney Plus. That to me says, we know these characters we want to be able to use them and move them into the MCU when we think it's right. So by putting them on Hulu, I think that has the connotation that they didn't think they were going to go forward with those characters and maybe do something. The fact that they're on Disney Plus, I think, is exciting. And for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans who are burning up the internet for years, complaining that characters should be in the MCU from that show, now it kind of reawakens this possibility. Ghost Rider, what have you, Canary, all those characters that are there. I forget what the main character plays, the main actress, what character
Quake.
Quake. That now people are like, oh my God, Chloe Bennett could be in the MCU with Quake. So this opens the door for a lot of I don't want it either, but it opens the door for a lot of, nothing against Chloe Bennett, but it opens the door for a lot of possibilities that could happen. So and now we look at, okay, well, now what does this mean? As you mentioned, Mike, for Moon Knight, what does it mean for future content? Can we start conceptualizing of R-rated TV shows, R-rated movies that are original movies showing up on Disney Plus that are superhero based? That could be really exciting, especially as the news was reported or rumored that Elizabeth Olsen has signed a 7-year contract to be a part of the MCU as Scarlet Witch. Opening the door to mutants opens the door to some pretty R-rated content in terms of conversation.
Potentially, yes.
In terms of violence and what have you. Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, look, I think that, you're already seeing, even beyond Marvel, you're seeing like Free Guy is up on Disney Plus. Like you're seeing like, I think that as they, and I don't know the numbers that they're getting in the subscriptions, but I think as they are trying to figure out how to keep Disney Plus competitive with Netflix, with HBO Max, with Hulu, well, they own Hulu, but like with HBO Max and Netflix
Peacock,
particularly,
Amazon Prime, all those.
Amazon. But as they're trying to remain,
Apple TV.
as they're trying to remain competitive, I think they're realizing that there's definitely a huge audience for the Disney library, for families wanting to watch all the Disney content, for the Marvel universe, for the Star Wars universe. But they're going to need more than that to remain competitive because Netflix and HBO Max, like they don't have any rules. They have the adult stuff, they have the kid stuff, they have everything. So I think we're going to see that continue to change. But I think probably led by Marvel, which is the first one where they're like, I don't think, and I think they're right. I think it makes no sense to split your Marvel library and say, well, if you want to watch these, it's on Disney Plus, but if you want to watch these, it's on Hulu. Like that, Disney Plus should be the home for all things Marvel, and I think that is going to pave the way, to your point, Johnny, for more mature content coming from Disney on the Disney Plus streamer, which I think is good.
Yeah, like Hellstrom, which is comic book content, but it's on Hulu. That's where it belongs. It's smaller content, more niche content. You're not going to necessarily move that into the MCU. That's the smarter move to do things like that. So, and we'll see what they do with Legion. Like, is that a possibility down the road? Would that kind of now start showing up? That was a close to, if not R-rated show, very close to R-rated show on FX. Will they start opening the door to having that over there as well? I just love the possibility, Shannon.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, like, how Feige has said, we're not pulling any punches with Moon Knight. I wonder if and how much of an exaggerated statement that is. Like, I really don't think it's going to be what folks from the comics might be. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that. I think in terms of what has preceded it, it might look a little extreme. But in comparison, again, to Punisher, like, I don't think it's coming anywhere near that. I mean, maybe on the level of like Daredevil. But I don't think it's going to be this extreme display of violence that everyone seems to think based off that quote.
Okay, I mean, you can still kill as many people as Punisher did, and not necessarily have it feel like an R-rated show, right? I mean, it's first not just the amount; it's how he did it. Yeah, right. You can kill from a distance, right? But from that 9th episode in the first season, I think 9th or 10th episode, where it was like a bloodbath, that I don't know if they could do that on Disney Plus. I agree with that. Oh, sorry, Mike, what were you going to say?
No, I mean, it is funny. Like, I think that, and this happens, it's the same as like with all of the discussions about the Batman being PG-13. There does seem to be this constant fear that we're not getting as much blood and guts as we would like to get out of these characters that have existed in comic books that are like, that's comic books. It's drawn like what, like it's very funny to me. Like, is this going to be bloody like Punisher? Well, Punisher's like the bloodiest comic that there is. Like, he's supposed to be the pinnacle, and everything else kind of falls in place. And just like, the Batman isn't rated R. I'm really upset about it. I'm like, like, I don't care about, and even with Moon Knight, like, I'm less worried or concerned about whether he's decapitating people or not. Yeah. And I'm more interested in how intense sort of the psychological thriller side of this story is, which seems to be really kind of the more interesting thing. So I always just think it's funny when we're like, well, I don't know. I sure hope we get bloody. I'm always like, what?
No, it's a good point you bring up, because you look at Invincible and you look at The Boys, those are two pretty bloody superhero shows, but their stories are what keep you coming back. The human interactions, the things the characters are dealing with, that's the reason why you tune in. The blood and the gore and stuff is shocking for shock effect, but it's not done all over the place. So it just becomes, like some kind, what do they call that? A blood porn or whatever it's called.
Well, I think those are both two really good points. And I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't dislike something that's super bloody and gory, and I don't crave something that's super bloody and gory. I like it if it's right for the story. And Invincible, for example, is so specifically designed to be this bright, beautiful, animated superhero world that looks very warm and inviting and young, so that when the violence happens, it's shocking, because the whole show is about how shocking it is what Omni-Man does. And The Boys is similar. The Boys is built around this idea that like superheroes are not remotely what you think they are in the comic book. So they both have a reason to sort of lean into this thing.
Yeah.
And Punisher, as an example, like that is a story. To do the Frank Castle story correctly, there has to be a level of like, you have to be shocked to the lengths that Frank Castle goes.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of these other shows that are coming down the pipe from Marvel, like they don't need to be shocking in their violence, but the freedom to be more mature in their storytelling, to really deal with bigger issues, to deal with more mature issues, to really delve into stuff and be more adult in their tone, I think is the real win. I don't want all of a sudden every single fucking Marvel movie to have like, decapitations and Quentin Tarantino blood spurting out of everything. I'd be like, well, that seems a little bit excessive. But I'm more excited about sort of allowing, kind of Logan is another great example, to allow these superhero stories to be more mature.
Yeah, and I wonder, and I know we got to wrap up, but I wonder if they saw what's happening over there at Peacemaker with DC and were like, yeah, we got to get on board with this kind of stuff. Not that they,
for sure.
I think they saw that as, hey, that does work, and it caught the pop culture zeitgeist. We need to keep doing that, because as successful as you are in the past, even as recently as 3 months ago, it's always about what you're going to do next. That's the public. All right, what do you got now? They're always wanting more. And so you've got to kind of be ahead in the trend and catch the trend. And certainly Peacemaker kind of indicates that the public is open to seeing this on a huge level. So
you make a really good point. Like, and I know we have to wrap up, but like sort of like James Gunn kind of with Peacemaker out Deadpool a little bit as far as a TV show. Like Peacemaker came along and here's this ridiculous character in a ridiculous universe where everyone is crazy, making his comments about the other superheroes, telling the superheroes to fuck off because they were late, and you're like, hey Marvel, James Gunn's got your number. Like he knows this tone that he's doing, he's got it. You better start developing that Deadpool TV show with Ryan Reynolds, because you got to keep up with them.
Yeah. That's a fair point. All right, well, there you go. That's our episode for the Geek Buddies. And maybe we'll revisit these Marvel Netflix shows, maybe even do them. Maybe we'll sit down and have a new video where we talk about our rankings for each of them before March 16th, kind of give you guys a little bit of a blueprint to go into those if you haven't watched them, or if you want to rewatch them and can't remember which ones you should start with. We could have a lot of fun ranking those. So look out for a video like that maybe in the future from the Geek Buddies. Thank you all so much for joining us. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media. On Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
And if you liked listening to us and you want to hear more content like us ranking the Marvel TV shows and finding out why Iron Fist is at the bottom, here are some things that you guys can do to keep us keeping on. You can subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. There's a ton of amazing content. Definitely like this post below so that we know that you like us, because it's really important that we feel loved. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought of everything. What did you think of these trailers? What do you think of the Marvel shows coming to DC Plus? Are you Disney Plus? Are you upset that S.H.I.E.L.D. is maybe not canon? Let us know all your thoughts there. And if you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere podcasts are available, go ahead and take a quick second. Leave us some stars. Leave us some comments. It helps us go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing that you guys can do is retweet this video, post it to your socials, and tell all your friends to check out your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Yeah, and I can't stress that. Well, Michael just said enough. We have thousands of you who watch our show every week, our multiple shows every week, but our numbers at the podcast level aren't that high. So we would love for you all the thousands of you all, to subscribe to the podcast feed, because that helps us get ads, that helps us get money and kind of fund everything we're doing with the Geek Buddies as we look to expand in our third year together. And so please help us do that. Subscribe to the podcast feed so that wherever you download podcasts, so it helps us out overall. All right. Much love to everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here from the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey! Carbon Health so much. CarbonHealth.com. There you go. Peace. Bye.